What is up, down, and sideways, you absolutely stunning individuals? Welcome back to another episode of League of Luck. My name is Eric flying Han Solo on today's episode as we continue the saga of absolutely MaRin, the dynasties of T1, fresh still off that World Championship. There's just, we're still riding this train of hype from it, and there's so much history now and nostalgia to go back and look at previous runs that T1 has gone through, so we figured the best way to really highlight the pure dominance over the ages of this team is we're going to go through every World Championship that they have attended and give a best play or most memorable play from each of these World Championship berths that T1/SKT has had over the years. And that is 9 different, not quite double digits, but 9 different World Championship appearances dating all the way back to 2013. And that is where we begin our journey today. The best play, or you can call it most memorable, most iconic play / moment from each year. 2013, it has got to be Game 3 of the semifinals against Najin Sword. And yes, we are talking about that iconic Faker playmaker moment in tandem with Impact, who is criminally underrated in this play. But this is the Ahri Engage and Survival, and I think people forget the Engage part of this play because the flash out immediately when he picks off prey on that Corki, and then flashes out, doesn't get hit by anything from Sona, kills the Corki. It ends up being a one-man Sona ulti just on Faker, and then him and Impact are there to clean up. Expression trying his best on the Renekton, and this is a sad moment for him. You see him tilted afterwards, but this is even with Faker charming the one minion that's alive instead of getting the croc, but his buddy Impact bails him out with the clutch taunt to close it out. Honestly, that play is equal parts Impact and the Ahri out of Faker. Just a lot of these plays, you got to look at the stakes, the state of the game. That's 1-1, Game 3. Potential to go up 2-1 for Najin, and they are pushing down mid lane. They're kind of in control of the game, and Faker able to make that play to take them out. And of course, that series does eventually go to 5 games. There's multiple moments of individual outplays that both Faker, Piglet, Impact, everybody on that SKT roster had, as they time and time again proved that they were ahead of the competition. We'll say that at the very least. We jump forward to 2015 because 2014 there was no SKT at the World Championship. This is where we get the full revamp, only Bengi and Faker returning from that 2013 World Championship, and 2015 was maybe their most dominant run, highlighted by their most dominant player and the dude who ends up picking MVP for this event. It is MaRin in the top lane. Yeah, we're looking at that oh so nasty Fiora triple kill against H2K. This is the Juggernaut meta where Darius was picking up pentakills left, right, and center, but on a pick like Fiora, it's MaRin baiting in the entire H2K lineup, basically, before he gets the absolutely disgusting riposte into flash triple kill. Hjarnan, absolutely no idea what hit him there. He picks up, it's even a solo kill on Ryu at that point, who we know has an absolutely horrible memory of all things SKT related. This one just another drop in the bucket compared to the, of course, now incredibly infamous Zed 1v1 against Faker. But MaRin was the absolute star of 2015, and even years past, now this modern era of T1's a little bit different. But up until Guma, Oner, Zeus, and Kyria came in, MaRin was kind of the only guy where you said he took away some of that star power from Faker because he was that good in that 2015 run. And why, even though his peak was so small, we still talk about him as one of the greatest top laners of all time. Case in point, that 2015 play. There were less iconic, eye-popping moments. You had Faker getting solo kills on Kassadin and Ryze throughout that event, but the play that demonstrated most glaringly how good and what the strengths of T1 were was that play by MaRin on the Fiora. 2016 action now. You have to be looking at those semifinals between the Rocks Tigers, and there's lots of great plays from this one. You have Duke on the Gnar. That was actually RNG in the quarterfinals, but where he turns around an epic chase. Faker surviving on the Orianna, but absolutely the most iconic part of the run for SKT at this World Championship is Bengi subbing in a do-or-die Game 4 scenario where they're down 2-1. They screw up pick ban. He has to play first time Nidalee on stage, and my man proceeds to, completely take over the early and mid game and look like he was a Nidalee one trick. This was so good. We had to put a couple of plays that highlighted just the mechanics on the Nidalee are absolutely insane, and the absolutely ice in his veins clutch factor that Bengi brought to this game and to SKT as a whole. There's a reason those first 3 World Championships, you needed Bengi in the lineup, and the clutch factor was absolutely part of that. The amount of times he survived on the Nidalee with like sub 100 health. He had an absolute sliver in that last play, but the early game absolutely was controlled easily by Bengi. You can even highlight in the Game 5, he has an immaculate Lee Sin performance as well, but hands down, that is the most iconic part. I know you go to 5 games against Samsung in those actual finals, but it's more Samsung that has some iconic moments there. Obviously with the Elder Dragon Steel that Ambition gets, but we still talk about that Rocks SKT series as one of the best we've ever had at the World Championship, and I think Bengi subbing in for Blank in that Game 4 scenario, do or die, is absolutely deserving of being the standout from that run for SKT. On to 2017, the finale of the three-peat finals performances out of SKT, and maybe weren't feeling the best about SKT, even though they started 1-0 in the group stage. They're going down 10K to EDG, 9 kills to 0. You knew this was going to be the play from 2017. Yeah, the Galio performances were amazing out of Faker in the semifinals, but hands down, the most iconic, best play, mainly because it's a team effort, is the Wombo Combo against EDG. You've probably seen this play about 1,000 times. Let's make it 1,001. Of course, you got to highlight Wolf, who starts the engage, but it's literally all 5 members that contribute to this Wombo Combo, right? Faker Shockwave finds them all. Then we've got a Jarvan knock up into Cataclysm. Huni lands the Rupture, and bang, got this whole thing started with the Twitch engage. Perfectly timed with Wolf, but I don't think any other team in the world is able to make a comeback in this fashion against a EDG who kind of ends up choking their way out of that group stage. But initially this was a premier team who looked like they were going to close this game out. They're pushing an inhib at like 24 minutes against the defending world champions, but hands down the most iconic play from them. One of the most iconic plays in a storied history of SKT. You type in any Wombo Combo keyword for League of Legends in YouTube or anywhere else, and this is going to be one of, if not the first plays that comes up. And again, gotta highlight again that it's every member of SKT contributing to that play, which speaks to the incredible strength that this roster has had over the eons of dominant gameplay that they've had across the board. And that was, again, the Ardent Sensor meta that we became so accustomed to in 2017. And what does SKT do? Even back then, breaking the meta a little bit. Not that Rakan is really breaking the meta, but not having an enchanter in that bot lane to pop off on the Twitch, having a different approach like that. Love to see it. One of the most iconic calls and plays out of SKT. 2019 we jump to, because again, 2018, the darkest of eras in a otherwise pretty damn bright history of SKT. They're not there in 2018. 2019, it's again a fully revamped roster, save for Faker with Khan, Clid, Teddy, and Effort / Mata coming into the squad. This is effort in this game, and G2 maybe had the most iconic play of the tournament against SKT, but we're going to the group stage for one of the most iconic matchups we've ever had at Worlds, and that is SKT versus RNG. The last time we got to see Uzi at Worlds, the group stage matchup, both squads 1-0, north of 40 minutes in the game. Uzi has 10 kills on Xayah, is insanely fed. T1, no way they can even hope to win a team fight against RNG. So what do? They decide we'll just split push to the bank. This is so polarizing versus the last play. It's all about team fight Wombo Combo. This was macro split push outsmarting out of SKT because RNG just looks lost against this Twisted Fate who pops the ulti to see exactly what they're doing, and then it's just a simple case of stop the ports, guys. This is the meta where 80 carries were picking up teleport left, right, and center. Uzi does it in this one, and because Teddy has teleport and he don't, that's one of the main reasons they win the game. My man's flashing forward just to auto-attack a turret. Faker eventually goes down to the Mordekaiser, but the call, absolutely incredible out of T1 as the ports come in just a little bit too late. As we know, historically now, RNG would fail to get out of the group stage, in large part because of that loss to SKT, but showcasing both the brilliance of team fighting that SKT can have and switching that over to why the LCK was kind of looked to as the premier macro game knowledge team. LPL's always been about the team fighting, out-mechanicking you, but LCK a little bit smarter, and case in point on the day was that matchup against RNG. You also had Faker having an insane escape on the Twisted Fate. I think that was even in the same game against RNG, but definitely that teleport, double teleport into the base to close things out. The iconic moment for T1 in that World Championship 2020, another dark year where they failed to get through the gauntlet of regionals to make it to the World Championship. So we go to 2021, and this is the beginning of the new era for T1. It's not the full ZoFMK lineup because we have Kana in the top lane, but this is Oner, Guma, and Kyria. Basically rookies. Kyria wasn't a rookie at this point, but Guma, Oner, and Kana all rookies heading into this one, even though they don't get to the grand finals. It started with a bang. You had Oner getting like a quadra kill on Talon, but that was against DFM. But we are jumping to the banger semifinal matchup between D plus Kia, or then just Damwon, who were the defending world champions at the time. And we go to game 2 in a deficit. Well, not a deficit, but DK is the one starting the Baron. Oner, the 18-year-old rookie on Lee Sin. Look at Beryl, just trying to completely zone him out of the Baron pit. He headbutts him, but Oner says, that's fine, I'll just flash W, smite instantly, avoid the pulverized, get the Baron steal, and T1 even follows that up with an ace. The absolute stones on Oner to do that in such a high-stakes matchup against the defending world champions. Showmaker would try to make a play at the end, but ends up being an ace, and that's just the game for T1 straight up. Still remains one of the best Baron plays that we've gotten out of Oner. Obviously, this dude has a pretty insane highlight reel for his career already at still such a young age, sub 22 years old. But 18 as a rookie, doing it against Canyon of all junglers. Come on, that was, people were worried that was going to be the real finals of that World Championship. Obviously, EDG ends up actually beating Damwon in those finals, but that was the beginning of the new era for T1. You just got a little sprinkling of what the potential for these rookies were, and as we know, the next 3 year proves that, they were actually even better than as advertised as rookies. One of the guys who was not on that 2021 lineup, the only guy on this current modern T1 lineup, is of course Zeus, and his official coming out party as one of the best, if not the best, mechanical top laner, not just in the LCK, in the world, was in 2022 at that World Championship, where going up against JDG, going up against 369, another premier, well-respected, one of the best top laners in the world, and he puts on an absolute clinic on the Yone. There's a reason this guy was playing Yone over Faker and still, even in 2024, was doing it. But the amount of just pure mechanics on display from him and both Oner in this one, turning around not just a 2v2, ends up being essentially a 2v3 as Yagao shows up in what should be an easy kill, except, well, Zeus dodges absolutely everything on the Yone. This is before Yone is brain dead busted 2024 eras, but just look how clean these sidesteps are. I mean, first, killing a Malphite, that's no problem, but the stun in by Oner is absolutely clean. The ulti, all gravy. The get out, it's just immaculate before we even start getting into not 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's get the T-tools for some of these side steps as he comes in. Easy on the chains, easy on the Belveth. I'll even flash the Yone LT, and then Yagao is stuck underneath. He ain't got no snap back on the Silas, but that was really peak potential of what you could see out of T1. They end up losing in the finals of that event, of course, but Zeus remains, he gets that the Zeus, the shy handle, and that's both a compliment and an insult, because there are times where Zeus, of course, pushing too hard, not paying attention to the map, maybe getting caught out, being places he shouldn't be, but when he's playing a carry, or even we've seen some pop-off Oner performances out of my dude, when he's playing at his absolute best, there's no question that mechanically he is the best top laner on the planet. And in recent years, recent split, this last World Championship, you didn't have those negative gaming, the shy moments. It was more just Zeus, God of Thunder, absolutely laying the smackdown on these kids on the Rift. And that's why he's a 2-time world champion before he's even 22 years old. As we roll on to that 2023 run, this is the revenge for T1 after losing to DRX in the finals. Again, it's a matchup against JDG in the semifinals, but this is Super Team leveled up JDG. Knight's in for Yagao. Ruler is in for Hope in the bot lane, and this is the golden road. They've won MSI. They've won both LPL splits. All that stands in their way is T1, and the play we got to highlight is, of course, the poetic justice of history. We're going into Game 3. This is a 4K gold lead for JDG. They just got a Baron. They're trying to steamroll their way through the mid lane and take a commanding 2-1 match point series lead against T1, and Faker says, I remember 2017 for you, Ruler, and I got to repay a little bit of vengeance on the patented Azir pick, finding the angle, predicting the flash on Ruler's Varus. Obviously finds the shuffle. He gets popped immediately, and I think we again forget about the other plays that go on here in this one, specifically Guma on the Kalista, who pops the Zanyas, delays long enough for him to get the bailout on top of the ace. Somehow, this is a 5-for-0 ace. And truthfully, if it's not a 5-for-0, if Guma ends up dying, look how close the timers are on all the respawns. If Guma's not there to help with that push, T1 is not able to close out the game in that moment, and who knows? Maybe they overstep and JDG gets an ace themselves and they might end the game. So not only is the play out of Faker obviously incredible and iconic for him to catch out Ruler like that, who was incredibly fed at the time, but the way the rest of the team fight plays out, the way the rest of the T1 members play it to absolute perfection, resulting in a 5-for-0 ace, 100% the iconic moment for them in that set. And I mean, you could go later in or earlier in that series where Oner has the impeccable Rel engage as well. There were multiple iconic moments that you could talk about for T1 in that Worlds run in 2023. But hands down, that is the lasting memory, is the Faker shuffle, adding to what is an absolutely insane career for him and SKT. And that brings us to the culmination, the most recent run at Worlds 2024. You thought Faker couldn't possibly one-up that Azir play against Ruler, but yeah, it's exactly what he did in Game 5 against BLG, and you could even choose the 3v4 turnaround as the most iconic play, but we had to go with, of course, the final team fight. Zeus looks like he's caught out before Faker arrives and stalls long enough. And I think on second, third watches, when people finally started discovering that, oh yeah, Kyria has that teleport interrupt as well, no question, you have this play as the top one. Faker sidestepping, landing the Winds of War perfectly to kill Elk, and then to get on down as well, surviving with sub 200 HP. Again, you could maybe talk about maybe this doesn't close out if Faker dies. He's sub 100 health. If he dies, maybe there's not enough push. He doesn't get the taunt on Knight to close things out, and maybe, again, it could even be BLG being world champions. But, of course, got to highlight again Kyria knocking Knight out of that fight. That's another angle. Imagine Knight is TPing right here with these two low health bars. Faker gets blown up, maybe even before he pops the Zanyas. Ari's already there when Oner and Guma show up, and maybe T1 still wins that fight, but it's a heck of a lot closer, and they absolutely would not be able to close out that game. So somehow, some way, Faker, 11 years into his career, is able to maybe have the number one play that he's had at a world championship, and every single year, whether it's individual mechanics on display for T1 members, but truthfully, more often than not, the very best plays that they have at a world championship comes down to team play. All 5 members working together to either win a fight, move around the map, do something that most teams wouldn't even be able to see as a possibility. It's built different. Whatever is in the water at T1 HQ, these guys are just built different. It's not even just Faker. Don't get me wrong, Faker's a huge part of it, but guys like Kyria making that teleport play, Zeus, some of these individual outplays, Guma having the absolute confidence in these late games. You can talk about even him flashing forward against Ruler in 2023. There's so many different plays, it's hard to even pick one for every single world championship, but that is just what the blessing is to be a T1 fan, to have all these accolades, all these amazing plays that you can remember from over the years, and probably by 2025 we'll add another one to the list for the most storied organization in League of Legends. But that is it today for League Unlocked. My name is Eric. Thank you to all you beautiful people for hanging out, and we will catch you on that flippity flip.